true. You could be my teacher. Oh, you could be my boss.
Hi everyone! In this video, we're going to talk about the differences between myths, legends, folk tales, fables, and fairy tales. The root of all the stories that we are going to discuss is folklore or cerita rakyat. It usually passed on through oral communication and example. Myths, legends, folk tales, fables, and fairy tales are parts of narrative folklore that are passed down orally through generations. First, we have myth. Myth is usually explain the cultural and religious views of a society and also historical fact. Myth, or in bahasa Indonesia, mitos, is usually deals with supernatural gods, demigods, and natural phenomenon. The famous characters of myth are usually from Greek myth. It can be gods and goddesses and also heroes. For example, we have God Zeus and Hercules as the hero. The setting is nothing specific because it can be anywhere in the nature. The problem or the conflict that usually happen in myth is something that happens in nature related to gods and goddesses. The solution of the problem usually reveals magic related to unusual creatures, and it also can teach a lesson to the reader. Here are some examples of myths. We have Persephone, we have Orion, and also Labors of Hercules. Arachne is also one of the examples of myths. Next, we have legends. Legends usually told about history. It can be people, places, or events, and it comes with the retelling. The characters of legends are usually everyday people or sometimes animals, and the setting is also nothing specific because it can be anywhere. The problems in legends explain how or why something in nature came to be, and the solution usually reveals magic and sometimes give a lesson. Robin Hood is one of the famous example of character in legend. King Arthur is another example of legend character. In Indonesia, we know Legenda Tangkuban Perahu and Sangkuriang is the character. Next up, we have folk tales. It's a story about everyday people that contains common sense and sometimes it can be also supernatural. Every culture has different thematic folk tales. In Indonesia, for example, we have Timun Mas and also Bawang Merah, Bawang Putih. The characters of folk tales are anonymous, oral stories, found in all cultures, and it's timeless and placeless. So here's to sum up myths, legends, and folk tales. 1. Three of them are used to transmit cultural values and social rules. 2. Only myths that are involve gods and goddesses. 3. Folk tales involve historical characters. Then we have fables. Fables are short animal tales that given human-like qualities to deliver a specific moral or lesson. The characters of fables are animals acting like people, usually three or less, and the setting is generally outside somewhere. The only one problem in fable is usually using trickery between the animals, and as the solution, it ends with a moral lesson. The example of fable is The Three Brothers. It's a story about three brother bears. Another famous examples are from our childhood stories. The Boy Who Cried Wolf and The Tortoise and the Hare. Last, we have fairy tales, a story with fantasy, magic, or creatures, you name it, that don't really exist like witch, fairy, dragon, gnomes. Fairy tales usually have a good versus evil storyline, and the good always win with a happy ending. The characters of fairy tales usually deal with royalty or animals like frog. The setting usually castle or forest. Some examples of famous fairy tales are Beauty and the Beast, Cinderella, Snow White, and Little Red Riding Hood. So what make fairy tale and fable similar? Both may contain talking animals, and both are stories in which there is a right and a wrong. And what makes them different? Fable emphasizes specific moral lesson, while fairy tales rely heavily on magical things. And here are to sum up everything. I hope you do enjoy the learning session. Stay safe and stay healthy. See ya!